special guest, a poetry guest, also a filmmaker. I'm looking forward to speaking to him. Okay, so make sure you keep it locked in. We're going to be going in live right now. So we're just connecting up, keeping everything ready and vibrant. So big shout out to each and every one tuning in and loving the vibes each and every time. You're locked in to the Big Bad Station each and every day. This is DJKat, the Kat-a-lyst. So of course, special guest, introduce yourself. Let the listeners know who you are.
Hello, thank you for having me, DJKat. I'm Tom Roberts, but I perform under the name Tom Foolery.
Okay. So you know what? For those who don't know who you are, tell us a little bit about yourself.
So, I'm a 26-year-old poet and filmmaker. I was born in New Zealand and I grew up in London. Went to Manchester University and then I left there and started trying to be a filmmaker. And I was making films with my mates, and to pay my rent, I was editing. I was editing for Sky. I was editing for their Instagram account, which wasn't particularly fulfilling, but it was paying my rent.
Okay.
And then when lockdown hit, that job disappeared, and I moved back home with my dad and my little brother and sister.
Yeah.
We started making videos, and then we made the Great Realisation, which went viral. And now I'm talking to you.
Yes, wow, that summed it up pretty quick, pretty good. I'm sure there was a lot more to it than that. But
there was.
So, you know, I know you personally as in looking on your Instagram and things like that through poetry, because I'm a big poetry fan. But I want to know the difference, or is there a difference between New Zealand and the UK within poetry?
Within poetry?
Yeah.
Do you know, I've been away from New Zealand for so long that I go to a lot of poetry events in London and Manchester because they're the two cities that I spend the most time in.
Yeah.
But I haven't been to New Zealand since I was 18, so I don't really know what they've got going on in terms of poetry. I know that they produced Flight of the Conchords, which were two of the funniest poets to have ever lived, poet musicians. But I can't tell you much about the New Zealand poetry scene. I wish I could.
Okay. Well, you know what? How about filmmaking then? Because you was going to say something about it. I could feel it. So what was you going to say?
I was going to say I think they're a cool country, and I think they've got a lot of things going right. I think they've got potentially the most boss leader on the planet with Jacinda Ardern, who I DM'd the other day, hopefully, not thinking she would ever reply, and she replied.
Wow.
She replied, being like, "I've seen the poem, it's great." And I was like, "Oh, Jacinda." It's like, Jacinda, this is big for me. But yeah, no, they're a country that I think a lot of the West should look at in terms of their attitudes towards the environment and being kind to each other, and being good to people, health, welfare. I think they're in a good place. They're not perfect. No one's perfect, but they're doing all right.
Yeah, for real. So, let's talk about this poem, The Great Realisation, and how it all came about. What gave you guys the idea to actually do that poem?
All right. Well, so I'm thrust very quickly from living my little 26-year-old lifestyle where, I was going out with my mates, I was drinking a lot. I was very concerned primarily with the things that affected me. And then suddenly, like in the space of 3 days, I was the sole caregiver for two 7-year-olds.
Wow.
And we couldn't, and there's nothing, and you're stuck in your house all day. And I've always had a passion for filmmaking, and I've always liked writing poetry. And to be honest, for the first week, I'd say I was exactly like everyone else, like so many other people. I just didn't know what was going on. I was trying to figure out what I should be doing. I kind of, like so many of my friends, I thought this will probably pass in a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
And then it kind of dawned on me that it wasn't going to be that quick. And I don't think fortune favours people who wait, wait for things to pass. I think you've got to get busy.
Yeah.
You've got to do stuff. Okay. You've got to try and be useful, And from my perspective, there was a lot of anxiety and fear about, you turn on the television and you find out how many people have died that day compared to how many people have died in another country that day.
Yeah.
And it's all like like these bar charts of how many people have died, and then you know, people are saying things like the economy will never recover, the theatres will never reopen, the arts are going to be destroyed, everyone's going to have to retrain in cyber, you know, to be afraid. And I was just thinking, this is a nightmare. And maybe some of these things are true, and maybe some of this information is important, but I was thinking, people need something to look forward to. People need something to be hopeful for. Otherwise, you know, why are they going to get out of bed in the morning? And I certainly needed something to be hopeful for. So I set myself the task of finding the positive of 2020, of finding what was good about this time, you know, and not naively, because I think if you've just lost a loved one, or you've just lost your job, or your business has gone under, and then you see some kid on Facebook rhyming about why it's all for the best, I think that's going to make you really frustrated, and quite rightly. So I actually gave it thought. I was like, what is good about this difficult moment in time? And the best that I could come up with was that, you know, maybe it was such a disruptive moment that we could use it to fix some things in our lives that we were getting wrong before. Because that's what I was doing. I was thinking, God, you know, I was drinking too much. I wasn't sleeping very well. I was eating rubbish food. I was only thinking about myself. You know, and then suddenly I started exercising. I started sleeping better. I started being responsible for 2 little kids. You know, and all of these things, you know, within those things, I started to find like a bit of a sense of meaning. And I was like, that's cool. I can write about that. So that's how it happened.
Wow, it's a really positive story, but I think it will relate to so many people in the fact that people have had the chance to slow down and say, what can I do to improve? So I think that's going to relate to so many.
How was it for you? How was your first lockdown?
Well, to be honest with you, everything that I do now is at home. But I don't go out at all. So literally, it was a bit strange because I'm used to dances and DJing and so on. So it was a bit odd. So then
that comes back to you.
Yeah. So then for me, it was just like, just the same as you, I suppose. What can I do to improve myself? How can I better myself? Can I get more interviews in? Can I contact people? You know, all these different things that we have to do.
That's the one thing that I'd say is pretty nuts. So after the Great Realisation came out, we got a lot of attention. And in a single day, I spoke on This Morning with Holly and Philip, and then I did the Today Show in New York, and then I did the Morning Show in India, and then Sunrise in Australia, and then the Morning Show in New Zealand. And I thought, in one day, I've chatted on every continent, and in normal times they would have never had that. You know, they'd expect you to fly there, you know, get on an airplane, stay in a hotel, all of these things. I thought I've been able to transmit the same message that I want to transmit, and all from my bedroom. So I thought that was pretty cool. Yeah,
for real. And you know what? Loads of people as well admire the fact that you worked with diversity. The poem was so, I'm going to say sick, because young people know what that means, yeah? So it was so sick, and you know, the fact that Ashley Bandra put it in his dance that got so much controversy. What did you think about the controversy with that dance as well?
I could talk for a long time about this. I'm telling you now.
I know.
Do you know what? Before I go into saying how much of a shame I believe personally it is that there was controversy, the flip side to that coin is, and I really mean this, I want more than anything to live in a country where people can say what they feel, right, and say what they think, even if those things I don't mess with, you know, even if those opinions I'm completely appalled by. I do not want to live in a place where there is any restriction to freedom of speech or freedom of expression. And so if something's bothering people, I firmly believe people have the right to complain. So I've got no problem with the process of people complaining about something that they disagree with. I think that's a gift and a beautiful thing. But in this instance, the thing that they were complaining about, I think is really, really a great shame that in this day and age, this is something that people will still complain about. I gather people were complaining about Britain's Got Talent becoming too political, but obviously you don't have to dig too deep to believe that there are probably racial undercurrents. And I was speaking to Ashley, and some of the messages he received on Instagram, there's no way of defending them as being complaining about Britain's Got Talent being too political. It's quite simply, it's quite simply the surfacing of people's bigotry and racism, right? And that's something that, as many of us as possible, no matter what colour your skin is, because if this is something that only, people of colour can fight for, then that's going to create an echo chamber and no one's going to get anywhere, right? So I think whether you're, whatever your skin colour, you've got to try and move your society in a more progressive direction.
For real.
But sometimes, sometimes we see examples of, members of our society that aren't at the same stage we're at, right? And it's our responsibility not to just dismiss those people, because ultimately we've got to live with these people in our society, and everyone's got an equal vote. Right, so it's our responsibility, I think, to try and bring those people with us. And the mistake that I really think I see quite often is when someone disagrees with you, or when someone disagrees with someone, people just disregard them. People think, nah, just forget about them. And it's like, that doesn't work. That doesn't work. You've got to bring people, So that's kind of what I think in a nutshell. But
definitely. But you know what, still, I have to big up yourself and the whole of diversity for still sticking by it, not saying, we shouldn't have done that. I'm glad you did it, because it definitely was something that needed to be done, so big respect. For real.
No.
And then,
if you saw me doing that, please unfollow me on every platform.
Wow.
See me
so
making reckless moves like that.
I know, crazy. But I seen that you were doing some stuff with Benjamin Zephaniah, Life and Rhymes.
Yeah. He's such a cool guy.
He is. I've met him and he's so cool. How did you guys get on, and what was it like for you meeting him?
Man, this basically, there's a handful of poets who are, from my perspective at least, like the most famous poets in the country. I mean, there's loads of poets in this country, and I've met many poets in this country, and there's many phenomenal ones.
Yeah.
But like K Tempest, George the Poet, Benjamin Zephaniah, like they're some of the ones that you're just like, well, they're the biggest that our country's got.
Yeah.
It's amazing. Yeah. And so to share a stage with Benjamin Zephaniah, that's like, wow.
Yeah. So you think you're added to that list then?
I'm not. I haven't made the list yet. I'm still a rookie.
Okay.
Cutting my teeth.
Wow, I have to get some pointers from you, man, because poetry, I love poetry and I'm into it. So, and I know you're doing a picture book now. Tell the listeners something about this picture book and how it came about.
Yeah, well, that was everything's unexpected. Everything's been unexpected this year. But essentially, once the poem was, so I made the poem as a video, and that's all I thought I was going to do, and I put it on social media, and it generated a lot of attention. And suddenly, I started getting emails from publishers, left, right, and centre. I think we heard from about 20 publishers being like, "Can we turn this into a book?" And so I chatted to every publisher that was interested, listened to, how they saw turning it into a book. They listened to how I saw turning it into a book. And in the end went with HarperCollins.
Okay.
Because I got mad respect for them. The thing I like about HarperCollins a lot is, so it's Egmont in the UK and HarperCollins in the US, India, New Zealand, Australia.
Yeah.
But what I like about them is they're really quite well connected with schools, and they as part of the agreement, they agreed to create free learning resources of the poem for every year group that would be distributed to schools all over the country. Yeah. And for me, that was like the biggest possible pull towards that publisher, because I just thought, like, if this story and if this poem can help a kid who maybe isn't that interested in poetry because they're finding Shakespeare too dense, and they want to listen to something a little bit more modern, and this poem can help with that, then that is cool with me, and that is a great honour.
For real, definitely. And you know, people are asking me, how do you come up with these great ideas? Because we've seen lots of different snippets and videos of poetry, but how do you come up with them?
Just look at the world, man. Honestly, like, I mean, everyone's got good ideas, you know. Everyone's got good ideas. The difficult thing is not the good ideas, because I think that you will have some killer ideas whizzing around in your head. So will all of your listeners. The thing that's really difficult is having the discipline, and this is something that I haven't always had, and I'm really trying to train myself at the moment.
Yeah.
But the difficult thing is having the discipline to listen to your ideas,
yeah,
and trying to take them from your head onto the page, right? Because I really believe this. They will go, like, a good idea doesn't stick around in your head just because you've had it.
Yeah.
You know, the world is too full of distractions. You know, you'll get a little Facebook notification, or, you know, you'll get a call from your granny or your girlfriend or your boyfriend or something, and then that idea is gone forever. And it's like, thinking is like, you know,
hard work, man.
We all make, like, thinking is the easiest thing in the world, but to think clearly is actually really, really difficult. And sometimes I just look around and I ask myself this question, right? I'm like, what's bothering me, or what am I noticing?
Yeah.
So when I wrote The Great Realisation, what was bothering me was it was all doom and gloom. Yeah. And I understood why it had to be doom and gloom, but there was nothing else for people. And that was what was bothering me. With other poems, I thought, what's bothering me? And maybe Donald Trump's just said something obscene, or maybe back in 2017 when I started putting poems on Facebook, Theresa May, you know, Theresa May was moving in the kind of reckless way, I thought. And, you know, I think you just got to ask yourself, and it'll be different for every person, you know, what's on your mind. And it doesn't have to be what's bothering you, you know, it can be what are you really happy about?
Yeah.
You know, maybe you've just found someone that you're in love with, right? And that's all you can think about. And it's like, cool, that's a beautiful thing, and you will be able to turn that into a piece of art if you want to. And other people will be glad you did. So you just got to notice.
Definitely. And what can you say to aspiring poets or aspiring filmmakers, just to give them some advice? I know you said about thinking clearly,
I'm an aspiring poet. I'm an aspiring filmmaker.
You don't know.
Yeah, I'm 26. What I would say is, someone said this to me once, and I found it very helpful. And it's incredibly simple. If you do nothing, nothing will happen.
Yeah.
If you do something, maybe something will happen.
Yeah.
Nothing's guaranteed.
Definitely.
But maybe something will happen. You know, if you're active, right? If you're active, maybe something will happen. If you're passive and doing nothing, definitely nothing will happen. So you've got the choice.
Yeah.
Either definitely nothing will happen, or maybe something will happen. And to be honest, I'd take the maybe over the definitely nothing.
Definitely.
So just get active, man. Just do things.
Yeah.
Do things. It doesn't matter. Don't worry about budgets. Do you know the budget for The Great Realisation, which has been viewed 60 million times, turned into a kid's book?
Yeah.
I've just agreed a deal that it's going to be translated into Korean. Like, it's nuts, right? The budget of that was £20.
Wow.
The budget of that poem. Right? Do you know what I paid for? I paid for some candles and a bit of stock footage.
Okay.
And I filmed it in my little brother and sister's room, you know, on a camera less good than an iPhone, which everyone seems to have these days. So, like, I don't buy it and I don't believe it when people say, yeah, but, you know, I don't have the Hollywood gear, I can't do anything. It's like, no, man, you've got a full filmmaking kit in your pocket.
Yeah.
And you use it to make calls. So, like, get busy, man. And, you know, if you make some money and you want to get slicker with it, then that's cool. That's your right. And more power to you. Like, you should do that. But anyone who lives in this country is able to create and distribute. And by create, I just mean come up with something useful and novel. Yeah. And at the very least, just put it on their social media pages, and, you know, maybe something cool will happen.
Definitely. So what's next for you? I know you just spoke about the Korean thing, which is mad. I ain't gonna lie. That's mad.
Yeah, man.
But
I never thought I'd book in Korean. Like,
Yeah.
do you know what I mean? It's crazy.
Yeah.
And Japanese as well. It's been translated into Japanese too, which is cool because my little brother and sister are half Japanese.
Oh,
We've
wow,
got the
that's
same
wicked.
dad and a different mum.
Yeah, that's wicked.
So what's next? I'm currently trying to turn this content creation and this new kind of spoken word poetry filmmaking art form that I'm dabbling with. I'm trying to turn that into a viable business so that I don't have to go back into the type of work I was doing before, right? So I'm finding ways to provide. I really want to never put paywalls in front of people from accessing my content. So I think it would be the worst thing you can do in the world to like start putting out poems for people enjoy them, and then suddenly you start charging for them.
Yeah.
I think that's you can't do that. Like, and also you don't want to create work that only people with cash can watch, because that's not that kind of goes against what I'm trying to do.
Yeah.
But on the flip side, I want to make this my job.
Okay.
Like that's the reverse to it. So I'm trying to find ways to monetize this business. I'm looking at how much I can bring in from like YouTube ad revenue, and how many poems I can turn that into each month. I'm looking at something on Facebook, which is like a subscriber system, where you can like subscribe. People who want to, they get the same stuff as everyone else, but there are some altruistic people who are like, I want to give this guy £3 a month towards the creation of his content.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of experimenting at the moment and just trying to stay grateful and stay creative.
Definitely, and I like that. I think I'm picking up the vibe from you that you're quite humble in everything that you're doing, which is good.
Oh, bless you.
I like that. I like that, for real. So you know what? I've got to task you with something, because that's just what I do. So do you think you could do a little piece of a poem? Doesn't have to be the Great Realisation, and see if you can add my name to it, which is DJKat.
DJKat.
Yeah.
Yeah. Alright, what should I do? Do you want something political?
Yeah, man, whatever. I'm very rebel, as they say.
Very rebel. Yeah. Alright, I wrote this in... This poem's not even relevant anymore, but I never get to do it anymore. This is a poem I wrote in 2016. How long have I got? Have I just got like 20 seconds, or have I got a few minutes?
You got a few minutes, yeah, a few minutes.
Alright, cool. This is a poem I wrote in 2016 about who to vote for. And I think at the time it was between David Cameron, Nick Clegg, and Gordon Brown, was it?
Wow.
And in the end, we ended up with that coalition. Do you remember when we had the Tories and the Lib Dems together?
Yeah.
Yeah, so around that time I wrote this.
Okay.
And I'll try and get your name in somewhere.
All right.
Who are you voting for? I don't know. The decision's not out of apathy, so listen before you get mad at me, but I don't know. Like you, I'll go down to the church or community centre, queue up until it's my turn to enter the booth, and in truth, I have every intent to make a pick, place my tick, launch another 5 years of Dave, Ed or Nick, but then I stop, I analyse and stop playing. I look beyond the red or blue ties and hear what it is they're saying. You see, your vote provides a mandate. It gives the politician permission in their master plan. And before you tell me that it can be a tasty vision, lacks derision and prompt me to make my own decision, listen, let's start with the third parties, the brown smarties that make the ballot but never win. It kind of makes you wonder, why are they in? They're just too extreme in views, so lose. Each with good ideas to shape the world, yet for voters they're like the Kardashian girls, third, not attractive. Then coalition, politicians, swapping thoughts, mixing decisions like a DJ playing gangster folk, hoping that he can provoke all tastes, make it fun yet pleasing none. So now let's examine these new policies that the last GOV imposed on me. If you voted Lib Dem, this alliance is not consolatory, it's a solely Tory. The party's over. The House of Common Folk is full. Pull over, pass another bill. because now a new lawman's looking likely to start a war of words. Crime always hurts. You dream of peace, no more fighting. Parlay meant nothing. To the broken backs of benches down the gym pumping weight, but wait, I'm speaking, spake the speaker. Speak directly into the speaker and tell the people how MI5 and 6 aren't Mission Impossible films. But you know what? Forget it. Make your pick. Maybe forget about Nick. It's Dave or Ed. And we all know it'll be Dave, Ed again, another 5 years in office, or perhaps maybe by then Boris Johnson in both hands, the faithful servant of Mr. Cameroon, the golden grinning fluffy buffoon that we love to hate because the days of the greats like Tony Benn ding away from us. He said what was right, undeterred, yet in a word it's now personality that's preferred. So go on, DJKat, admit to me that all the while you watch QT Thursday night on BBC at 10 you settle down with Tita, watch old David Dimble be as charismatic as can be. And yeah, since we don't benefit from your benefits, we're taking away your benefits. Trust me, it's for your benefit. I hope you think that's fair. Because benefits promote lazy gits and it's time you earned your share. And don't tell us that you need them because we have to save our pennies. And it is so much more cost effective if you don't give you any. But anyway, the bar's called time, so I have to round off my spiel and sum up. Some of you want to know my politics, some of you may not give a. But whether it's left or right wing or the centrists I promote, I'm not this 20-year-old radical intent on rocking the boat, and it's not that I don't want to or that I can't or that I won't, but until someone inspires me, I simply don't know where to vote.
Easy. That was like a rap going on, man. That was wicked. That was wicked.
Sorry, man, I messed up a few.
That's so good. You know what? I really appreciate you even got my name in there, so that's a blessing. You know what? I hope that we get to link up sometime because I would love to do some poetry with you for real. Definitely feeling the vibe. And definitely. Anything you want to say to the listeners before we go?
What are your listeners like? Are they young? Are they old?
A mixture. I've got very young to very old.
Alright, well, if you're if you're in school, if you're a listener to this and you're in school, then don't worry if basically what I fear is people look at things like poetry and they think it's boring or outdated, and it's like those same people will then be listening to J. Cole or Kendrick Lamar or Mac Miller and be absolutely loving it, right? And that kid was me. So if you're in school and the teacher's making you do some poetry and you're not getting it, just ask them, say, Miss, like, can we look at this? Because there's so many poets these days that are, fresh. And sometimes that's what young people like. If you're not in school, then thanks for listening to me, and you can check out any of my stuff on social media at probably Tom Foolery. All my channels are probably Tom Foolery.
Okay. Once again, you know what? I just want to say thank you for taking the time. I do appreciate the fact that you've came on and you spit some amazing bars. It's like a rap game. You know what I mean? It's like the rap game, but for real. And of course I'll be sharing this. So keep a lookout. Yeah.
Yes. Appreciate you having me. Thanks.
Anytime. Have a good rest of the day. For real. All right. Bless. Speak soon. All right.
Bye.
Bye. Yes, people.